Hey everybody, Wildman here. We're going to take a closer look and walk through with an explanation of the balance of the Egypt area of Renee Feu's Adventure Park that I have been working on for at least a few years now. Before I actually zoom in and kind of show you the details, I thought it would be kind of cool to map out the pathing system in this section of the park. And the reason is that one of the players or one of the viewers out there had mentioned to me that some of the pictures help explain the layout, because it gets confusing of being able to identify where you are in the park or where you are in this land, because the paths are kind of all over the place for the sake of any other way to explain it. So let me just do a quick screen capture here, and we will walk through the paths of this area. So let's first take a look at Egypt Cairo section, which we already covered, but we'll go through that again. So let me change this to purple. So this is the bridge that comes from Tibet and the other Africa areas. There's this little plaza with a side path that goes to some shops. You have the main street through Cairo that goes here and also goes back in and around a few other areas here where there are some more shops and buildings located. There's also some buildings here that have path access. There is a path that cuts under the train tracks here to get into this area, which is where you access the train station. But you could also split off and go this way or this way. So let's show you another way to get under the train tracks. There's an underpass over here that comes around to the second plaza, and it's all connected in the same place. If you go off to the right, this takes you to the station for Tale of the Black Scorpion, to the Mummy's Revenge, and to the flat ride way in the back of the park here. This also has a cut-through path that goes underneath the roller coaster into this market area, and then there are paths all in and around this market area that ultimately also connect back underneath the coaster to this main path. So that kind of covers all of what we've seen already. Now let's jump into the central part of Egypt, which I call the desert section. So in the desert section, coming in from the main street of Cairo down here, there is a walkway that goes to the coaster. There's a pathway here that goes in and up and around to the station for this coaster. You could also access that through a stairway over here. There's a few pathways here to get to the flat ride or to the gondola ride. And it also connects back around the gondola building. And ultimately, there's a back path that connects this over to the market area as well. You can also head up into what I call the Oasis area from this part of the park. So let's switch to red and talk about what I call the Oasis part of Egypt. So here is the exit for the wooden roller coasters, a shop, and it goes up some staircases and ramps up here where there's a station for another coaster, a station for the car ride. This continues going uphill to what I call the Oasis Highlands, or the High Oasis. And I kind of cut it off here, but there's a bridge right here that will connect you back to the regular part of the park. Or you could continue into this flat ride and some shops here and here. And this path continues back in and around and under the roller coaster to connect back to the central part of this Egypt area. And yeah, there's no paths in the middle of this section because it's mostly a ride or rides that are in the central part. So all the pathing here is kind of around the outside edges. So that's pretty much all the pathing, so you could see how it all fits together, how there's cut throughs, how there's really basically a big circle around the whole outside of this land, and it really gives you access to all the different areas. So let's go back and zoom in now, and we'll walk through the desert section. So leading off of the streets of Cairo here, you come into this little intersection. Sorry about the fast zooming. And there's a small animal exhibit off to the right. Here's the queue for the Sandstorm coaster. So the queue's outside mostly, and it's kind of like an elegant station building. And the concept of this ride is that it's clearly like the toboggan coaster car type format, but my idea on this was that it's kind of like you're riding sleds over in and around the dunes of the Egyptian desert. So that's the idea of that. And then it kind of goes up into like a rock outcropping on the second part of the ride over here. But the idea is that you're like on sleds going through the dunes. So then let's take a quick look here. There's the gondola ride. So earlier in Africa there was a chairlift ride. Here it's a gondola ride because it gets up quite a lot higher at parts. So I figured the enclosed gondola was a better choice. But kind of a cool feature on the way I designed this was you could see as it comes in to the station here, it actually rides really close to the ground over what looks kind of like a blasted out version of the mountainside for the gondola cables to be installed. And further down the path here, there's a flat ride here inside the building here. This is the Temple of, I want to say it right, Anubis, I believe. And the entrance right across from that is the gondola station. You could take a quick peek inside. It's a pretty generic station, just stones and temple looking inside. There's some pathing that goes back around it here. And I guess I should also point out, here's the train that continues on from Africa. So as it gets through this Egypt section, it kind of goes through more canyons and caves as it goes around the perimeter of the park. Ultimately, it comes back out over here on the other side of the coasters and continues on along the cliff edges and goes out across a huge high bridge over to the next area we'll be working on, which will be the subcontinent of India. So that's where the train goes. We also have access to one of the two wooden dueling coasters here. It's called the Desert Cobra. So you get access to this coaster from the desert section of Egypt, but the sister coaster over here, which is called the Horned Viper, you access from the High Oasis section of the park. But they both do exit right here, pretty much right in the middle, the border between the two different sections. So at least you're not exiting on a completely different part of the park.